So here's a few more basics from our kitchen that I would like to share with you. And the first two groups of these are really about substituting. So this little pile of goodies here are all things that we would eat where other people might eat bread or products made from grains, which are very difficult for most people to digest. So getting rid of those grain products and breads especially, what are you going to have when you want something crunchy? So raw flax crackers, you can buy them in health shops, but you can also make them really easily yourself, along with onion bread. That's another favourite for us. When I don't have time for that, sometimes a cooked cracker can be really useful, and these are made from quinoa. There's also one that's made from buckwheat. So these are grains that we can use to substitute for the true grains like wheat, barley and rye. So although they're often called grains, they're actually seeds, and they don't come with all the difficulties of digestion that the true grains do. So you can also use things like quinoa, buckwheat and millet in cooked meals in the way that you might use rice or something like that. And they're simple to cook in the same sort of way as you cook rice. Another handy cooked product is these noodles, and they don't have any grain in them. They're made from 100% buckwheat, which despite the name is nothing to do with wheat. It's a kind of seed, so much easier to digest. And if you've got children that just won't give up on the idea of pasta, you can replace wheat pasta with buckwheat, which again, it will feel like more or less the same thing, but it doesn't have grain content. So there's some ideas for getting around the grain problem. And then coming on to dairy, for most people cow's dairy is really difficult to digest and causes all sorts of problems. Some of us are more sensitive to it than others, but even if you haven't spotted a sensitivity, it's really worth your while experimenting with cutting out or cutting down on the cow dairy. So what are you going to have instead? When it comes to cheeses, it's pretty easy to find sheep's cheese and goat's cheese. Even supermarkets do them these days, and they are much easier to digest. They're also delicious, so that's really useful. When it comes to milks, maybe you can get organic goat milk where you live, or sheep milk. You can also make your own nut milk at home, and we've made a video to show you just how easy and quick that is. And then these days we're also really fortunate that you can buy them, and you can have a few ready-made ones in the kitchen for emergencies when you've run out of the fresh stuff. And then when it comes to dairy yogurts, I've replaced those with this stuff, which is made from, all that's got in it is coconut and culture and a bit of tapioca starch to thicken it, and it still feels like you're having a real treat even though there isn't any sugar in it. So that's a nice healthy yogurt replacement. The only time generally that Dow and I drink cow's milk is when it's been cultured and turned into kefir. So another one of the staples in our kitchen is fermented products. So kefir is another fantastic source of probiotics. It keeps your gut flora healthy. It's delicious. It only takes 2 or 3 days to culture, and you can just do that on your kitchen windowsill, and then you can use it in smoothies. You can use it as a kind of thin yogurt replacement, or you can just drink it as it is, and you can make that from cow or goat milk. And then other cultured fermented products like sauerkraut, which again is easy to make at home, or you can buy it. If you're buying it in a shop, it should be in the fridge, so beware of the sauerkraut that's on the shelf that will have been pasteurised, therefore it doesn't actually have any probiotics left alive in it, so it's just a flavour. It's not really much point in buying that, so make sure that it says live or raw and it's in the fridge. Something else that we use a lot in our kitchen is fresh herbs, and you can actually get a lot more mileage out of these little pots here, which are full of probably 20-30 baby plants all suffocating each other out, is to buy one of these and then untangle them and plant them much more spread out. We got a whole winter's worth of herbs in our polytunnel last year from a couple of these different packets. And when it comes to making fantastic sauces and dressings, in the blender, it's really the fresh herbs that bring the fantastic flavour. And there's a couple of other things that you might not be so familiar with. Rather than stock cubes, which are generally have some kind of wheat content, you can get a really good vegetable stock powder like this one, which is wheat free. They do a few different versions. There's a gluten free one, there's a low salt one. And then something else which we use a lot are these yeast flakes. And again, there's different ones. You can get a vegan one, you can get one with extra B12, and they're a fantastic source of B vitamins, and they give a kind of savoury, cheesy taste. So you can sprinkle them over the top of your salad, you can sprinkle them over cooked foods as well. You can use them like a bit of parmesan on top of your raw pasta. And you can also make a fantastic cheeseless cheese sauce with cashews and these yeast flakes.